There's something deeply tragic about the idea that a person can love, truly love, and not even be aware of the full extent of it. And yet, it happens all the time. It's not always conscious. In fact, much of what we feel most deeply in life lies far below the surface of what we can articulate. Now, this is crucial because modern society tells us that what we say is what matters most. But let me tell you something that clinical psychology and mythology and even just common observation have taught us. What people do often reveals far more than what they say. And love, real love, isn't a statement. It's a pattern of behavior. So when I say she's more in love with you than she knows, I mean that her nervous system, her emotional being, her very pattern of sacrifice is oriented toward you, whether she understands it or not. She gives you food, she checks if you're okay, she worries when you're late, she listens not just with her ears but with her entire being. She rearranges her life in small ways to make room for you. These are not small things. These are massive psychological indicators of investment. You feel what you feel long before you know what you feel. The body knows before the mind names it. Emotion isn't born in language, it's revealed through it. And when someone is more in love than they know, that's not delusion, it's depth. That's not absence, it's abundance spilling beneath the surface of conscious control. You can be entirely devoted to someone and not yet have the courage to say their name in the dark, because the soul moves before the voice follows. Love isn't merely declared, it's lived. It's embedded in the micro behaviors, in the way someone shifts their schedule for you without complaint. It's in how they listen longer than they plan to. It's in the way their eyes track you across the room even when you're not speaking. The conscious mind is full of distraction, ego, confusion, but the heart acts with clarity even when the tongue stammers. That's the terrifying beauty of it. When someone loves you unconsciously, it means they haven't had the time or the trauma to wrap words around what their nervous system already knows. They are not lying. They are not withholding. They are not fake. They are simply not yet fully aware of the force that's already rewriting their life around you. And that's dangerous and sacred territory, because what you don't yet understand, you cannot yet defend. We often think of love as a conscious commitment. Commitment is only the tip of the iceberg. Underneath is years of conditioning, patterns formed in childhood, associations learned long before choice became an option. When she picks up her phone to check if you're okay without even thinking, that's not planning, that's instinct. When she smiles when you enter the room, not because she should, but because she can't not, that's not performance. That's impulse rooted in attachment. Unconscious emotion is not weaker, it's stronger because it bypasses censorship. It bypasses the filters of fear and pride and guardedness. It flows like water around the rocks of rationality. And that's what makes it so vulnerable. If someone is more in love than they know, they are walking through fire barefoot. They are carrying dynamite without realizing it. Their entire psychological frame is being shaped by something they haven't yet examined, and that means it's not protected. You can only defend what you understand. So when love lives in the unconscious, it's entirely at the mercy of external response. If you treat it well, it will flourish. If you mock it, ignore it, take advantage of it, you don't just damage the connection, you fracture the very foundation of that person's emerging identity. Because our identity isn't built through solitude, it's shaped in relationship. We discover who we are through who we serve, who we long for, who we grieve. To be in love unconsciously is to be possessed by something divine and dangerous. It means the soul is making promises the mouth has not yet learned to speak. And that is not manipulation, that is not immaturity, that is the reality of human depth. Most people walk through life never fully understanding why they're drawn to certain people, why they can't let go, why they dream in faces they don't talk to anymore. And the answer is this: love has no obligation to announce itself with clarity. It just arrives, and it changes everything without permission. She doesn't know how much she loves you because she hasn't examined the pain she'd feel if you were gone. She doesn't realize how deep it runs because she hasn't yet faced a world where you're no longer in it. Her unconscious knows more than her intellect. Her behaviors have already made the confession. Her words are still avoiding. And if you're perceptive, if you're even halfway honest, you can see it, you can feel it. And if you pretend not to, you are lying to yourself and to her. You don't have to hear "I love you" to know when someone is giving you pieces of their life. Look at what they prioritize. Look at what they sacrifice. Look at how their tone softens when they speak to you. Look at how they defend you when you're not in the room. Look at how their body tilts toward you in conversation. How they remember things you forgot, you told them. How they get nervous when you're upset. That's not coincidence. That's not politeness. That's not friendship dressed in a costume. That's real. The unconscious is the oldest part of who we are. It holds the genetic memory of pain, of love, of survival. It speaks in dreams, in metaphors, in impulses. It doesn't ask for permission. It acts. So when it loves, it doesn't check with the ego. It doesn't wait for alignment. It moves toward the beloved like gravity. And if you try to resist it, it doesn't go away. It just hides deeper, which makes it even more potent and even more dangerous. What we repress grows stronger. What we deny takes root in silence. And love, when buried, becomes longing. And longing, when ignored, becomes suffering. And suffering, when not understood, becomes bitterness. This is why recognizing unconscious love is not just romantic, it's redemptive. It's an act of truth, because to finally realize how much you care about someone after months or years of not knowing is to come face to face with the fact that you weren't in control after all. And that humility is the beginning of transformation. There are people right now living their entire lives shaped by people they claim to be just friends with. They orbit each other's lives like planets caught in invisible gravitational poles. They organize their decision, their moods, their weekends around someone they haven't even admitted they loved. And that's not weakness. That's unconscious alignment. It's the soul reaching out before the mouth catches up. So many relationships die not because love wasn't present, but because it wasn't recognized, not named, not honored. And so it withered in the dark. The seed was there, but the light never came because someone thought, if they haven't said it, it must not be real. That's a lie. That's a shallow interpretation of a deep truth. Most people don't say what they feel. Most people can't, but they act it. And if you're wise, you'll pay attention to the action more than the declaration. Because she may not say she loves you. She may not even know that she does. But the part of her that brings you peace, the part of her that anchors your... But when someone chooses to suffer on your behalf, when someone willingly rearranges their comfort for your stability, that's love. That's what it means to be truly seen and truly cared for. And it's terrifying, because once you see it, you know you owe something back. She may not say the words. She may not even realize how much of herself she's laid at your feet. But you can measure it in the sleep she's lost, worrying about your pain. You can feel it in the food she makes, the advice she gives, the way she keeps track of the small details that you think don't matter, but matter to her because you do. That's not obligation, that's not duty, that's love. Taking form through small, daily sacrifices that accumulate like bricks into a temple of loyalty. Responsibility is the deepest proof of love, because no one takes on the burden of another without profound connection. People will avoid responsibility at all costs until they fall in love, and then suddenly the impossible becomes tolerable. The future becomes shared, and the needs of the other become your own. That's not codependence, that's sacred duty. That's what keeps families together. That's what gives life meaning. You want to know if someone loves you? Don't ask them, watch them. Observe the weight they are willing to bear for your sake. How often they put you before their convenience. How often they show up when no one else does. When the world goes quiet and the crowd disappears and your flaws are fully exposed, if she's still there, not in obligation, but in chosen loyalty, that's love. And it is not common. Love is not a contract, it's a covenant of action. It's a declaration, not with words, but with endurance. She doesn't calculate how much she gives. She doesn't keep score. She simply shows up, again and again, not because she has to, but because something inside her won't let her leave. That force, unspoken, unwavering, is not weakness. It is power under control. It is fire disguised as gentleness. The willingness to take responsibility for another's suffering is the highest form of emotional maturity. To love someone is to say, your pain is now my concern. Your struggle will not be faced alone. Your dreams will not be fought for in solitude. And this is not done with fanfare. It is not done for recognition. It is done because love cannot do otherwise. She's more in love with you than she knows because she is taking on burdens she hasn't even named yet. She modifies her tone so you don't. She might not define it as love. She might call it habit or friendship or care. But the body knows. The soul knows. The actions betray the truth long before the words catch up. She is already restructuring her emotional world around your presence. She is already making room for your chaos, your ambition, your fear. She is adapting to your fragility with a strength that neither of you fully understand yet. Responsibility isn't chains, it's proof. It says, I will endure with you. I will suffer for you. I will not abandon you when it's hard. That's what separates the lovers from the liars. That's what makes love redemptive, not destructive. And when someone carries responsibility for you without being asked, without being forced, without demanding reward, that's sacred ground. She picks up what you drop. She tracks what you forget. She forgives what you repeat. That is not naivety, it is courage. It is someone choosing to place your needs above her comfort. And if you are not in awe of that, if you are not humbled by that, then you do not yet understand what you've been given. The burden of love is not proof of oppression. It is the price of meaning. It's what transforms an interaction into a relationship and a relationship into a covenant. And those who run from that responsibility never find real connection. They float from body to body, heart to heart, never staying long enough to build something that lasts. Because anything that lasts must be carried, and carrying something means pain. She's more in love than she knows, because her willingness to carry pain for your sake is growing faster than her awareness of it. And if you can see, if you can feel it, you are being invited into the most sacred kind of relationship, one where suffering is shared, where burdens are distributed, where love is measured not in sentiment but in sweat, patience, and quiet loyalty that doesn't need applause to persist. If someone has given you a piece of their soul, you don't get to treat it like a disposable object. If someone loves you more than they know and they're offering that to you in small, unspoken ways, you are standing at the edge of something sacred. And sacred things demand reverence, not passivity, not detachment. Reverence. That means attention, that means discipline, that means a refusal to treat human intimacy as a game. There are no neutral interactions when someone's heart is involved. Every word you say, every delay in your response, every careless laugh at their vulnerability, it all counts. It either builds trust or shatters it. And when someone has unknowingly poured their love into you, your every decision becomes a response to a contract you didn't ask for, but are still bound to. That's the burden of being cared for. That's the weight of being loved before you're ready to carry it. To be loved by someone who hasn't even realized how deeply they feel is to hold a mirror to their unconscious. And that mirror is fragile. If you mock what they haven't yet admitted to themselves, you aren't clever, you're cruel. If you exploit the gap between what they feel and what they know, you are committing an emotional theft so devastating it will echo in their future relationship. Because betrayal by someone you trusted before you even knew why you trusted them leaves a scar on the soul, not just the heart. You don't get to say, well, they never told me. You saw the signs. You heard it in the tone that softened when they spoke to you. You saw it in the way they prioritized you above their own comfort. You witnessed it in how their world tilted toward you, even when it cost them time, peace, or dignity. To pretend you didn't see that is not ignorance, it's cowardice. Because seeing it means you have to respond with character. And character is the one thing you can't fake without eventual collapse. She might not know how much she loves you, but if you do, and you mishandle it, then it's not her fault when she breaks, it's yours. Because knowing someone is vulnerable to you even unknowingly, is a moral test. And you don't get to fail that test without consequence. Not just for her, but for you. Every time you treat deep emotional investment with carelessness, you lose a part of your own capacity for meaning, and eventually you won't recognize yourself in the mirror. People walk around today with hearts that have been stepped on by people who smiled while doing it. People who knew the love was real even if the words hadn't come yet and still chose to toy with it. Because attention feels good. Because validation is addicting. Because playing God in someone else's emotional world is a high for the weak. But when you exploit someone's unconscious love, what you destroy is not just a moment, it's an entire future version of them that will never trust the same again. We are not animals without ethics. We are not beasts chasing pleasure. If you see that someone is loving you, even from a place of confusion, even from behind the veil of denial, your responsibility is not to match it, but to treat it with the seriousness it deserves. That means clarity. That means boundaries if needed. That means stepping back if you cannot honor it. But above all, that means you do not pretend not to know what's happening just to keep the benefits. When someone gives you loyalty, even unconsciously, they are writing a story in which you play the lead. If you aren't prepared to carry that role, you must exit the story honestly, respectfully, immediately. Otherwise, you become the villain, not because you planned it, but because you refuse to acknowledge the weight of what was being placed in your hands. You didn't need to ask for the responsibility to have it. Responsibility arrives the moment someone opens their heart to you, not when you feel ready to accept it. It's not enough to say, I didn't promise anything. You don't need to promise in words when your behavior has already built a structure of emotional implication. And when someone is emotionally involved with you without fully realizing it, your silence becomes an action. Your passivity becomes a betrayal, because inaction in the presence of emotional gravity is never neutral. It either protects or permits harm. You are not innocent because you didn't lead them on verbally. You are responsible because you knew and stayed silent. And silence, when someone is handing you their soul piece by piece, is not gentle. It's violent. It tears slowly. It dissolves trust by inches. And by the time they finally see clearly, it's often too late. They've already paid in years, in patience, in quiet sacrifices that they thought were mutual. When someone doesn't yet know how much they love you, but you do, you are standing before a sleeping giant. That giant is vulnerable, and your role is not to poke it to see how strong it is. Your role is to guard it until it wakes on its own terms. That means restraint. That means emotional discipline. That means you don't touch what you aren't prepared to honor long term. You do not experiment with someone else's emerging affection. You don't test the boundaries of their loyalty just to see how far it stretches. You don't push them into deeper emotional territory just to inflate your own ego. You stand still. You stay honest. You speak truth even if it costs you comfort, because that's what a person of integrity does when standing before someone else's unconscious vulnerability. The measure of a man is not how much love he receives, but how he handles it when it arrives, disguised, undeclared, and unexamined. The highest form of masculinity is not conquest, it's protection, not domination, but discernment. And if you see that a woman is loving you without yet understanding the cost she's paying to do so, and you do nothing, then you are not strong, you are dangerous. Strength is knowing the power you have in someone's life and refusing to exploit it. Strength is recognizing the unspoken attachment and choosing not to twist it. Strength is walking away from affection you cannot honor rather than standing there and soaking in it like sunlight while she withers in confusion. You don't get to pretend you're a good man because you didn't hurt her on purpose. That bar is beneath you. Real goodness requires foresight. It means seeing what she can't yet admit and guarding it with the same seriousness you'd want your daughter's heart to be guarded by someone else. It means applying ethics where society permits indulgence. It means becoming the kind of person worthy of the love you didn't earn, but were still given. And if you treat that love with care, if you choose to protect it rather than consume it, if you speak when silence would be easier, then you're not just doing what's right for her. You're becoming more human yourself. Because every time you honor another person's unconscious devotion, You bring light to your own darkness. You become someone capable of love that isn't parasitic, that isn't performative, that isn't predatory, but is rooted in courage, clarity, and responsibility.